fastball or strike. There's only one of the two. What do you think? Should I go for it?
You gotta throw the heater,
or just
man.
don't embarrass myself?
Ladies and gentlemen, here with an honorary pitch, would you please welcome one of our own. He's a graduate of Our Lady of Sacred Heart in Coriopolis. He's a current member of the Brooklyn Nets. Let's welcome home, Cam Johnson.
Johnson connects.
My whole thing, my whole career has just been build.
Cameron Johnson, a big 3-1 a day.
Continue to grow. Start at solid and add more and more into the game.
Cam never doubted his future. No matter what, you keep pushing through.
Driving right, going to the rim, and a slam with the right hand.
Every day is a wonderful opportunity to continue to get better, play hard, and make the city proud. Pittsburgh. I'm from the suburbs, Moon Township, Pennsylvania, where the airport is. It's a blue-collar city, hard-working city, good people, and people care about one another.
Pittsburgh is a sports city, and unfortunately, basketball doesn't come first here.
Football is king in Western PA. Had some great players here. You know, Steelers, players from Pitt.
It's a football town, for sure, at the top. Hockey is big, 2 Stanley Cups in my years in Pittsburgh. And then baseball. If the Pirates win, we love them.
You didn't even mention basketball.
So basketball fits in towards the bottom of that. It just is not as, there's no professional basketball team. We don't have the strongest representation in the NBA, so there's not like a strong NBA culture. But I think the basketball culture in Pittsburgh is growing. My parents both played basketball. Mom played every sport imaginable. She loved every sport. And so we all came out with the ball in our hands. Nobody ever had to put one in mine. I kind of just came up just always wanting to play.
I remember when Cameron was born, I told a really good friend of mine, I think this is the one. I just felt it. And then when he was first able to set up, I got him a basketball hoop. He literally picked the ball up and dunked it through the hoop. I was like, all right, I think we have something here.
Cam always just was a simple kid, a competitor. Just the one thing you knew he was going to be is successful.
I got him in a little league when he was 4 years old, playing against 7, 8-year-olds. He was lead scorer in the league at 4. And he was serious, like had this look on his face. And one kid came up to Cam and said, man, you are really good. You might make it to the NBA. Cam got in the car really, really mad. And then I said, Bud, what's wrong? He says, Dad, some kid came up to me and said I might make it to the NBA. What does he mean, might make it to the NBA? I'm gonna be in the NBA.
Cam was a student of the game. He was one of my most skilled players. I used to tell him, he's the best player in the gym. He was like a coach on the floor at 8. Gil and I go back to the 80s. I was at Pitt, and then 2 years into me being there, Gil got recruited.
Stokes there. Porter hangs and jams. Wow, what a play by Darrell Porter.
What he had to complain about. Great pass.
Gilbert Johnson.
Gil was from South Carolina, and he used to explain some of the challenges that he had growing up. And I was thinking, I thought I had it bad here, but I guess, it depends on where you're at.
My mother was a single mother. She raised 6 children. When I left the house, I had to be dressed a certain way. I couldn't have stripes and plaid. I could not have an earring. I could not have a tattoo. It made me realize that, hey, you gotta go get it. Nobody's giving you anything. At Pitt, my experience was great. A lot of great friends. My teammates are my brothers still. Darrell was always the glue guy. And we've been brothers since day one, since I got here.
Matthews. That's Porter with the three. Porter for the three-point goal.
I could say I'm from Pittsburgh. Dap is Pittsburgh. When people hear Darrell Porter, or we all call him Dap, when they hear that name, that's Pittsburgh basketball. Dap is one of the players that made it, lived in Pittsburgh, gives back to the city, coached in the city. Like, Dap is Pittsburgh basketball through and through.
After we played and had children, Gil wanted to get into the 8 and under second grade national championship AAU tournament. And I'm like, we don't have one second grade team here. How do we get in? It's like, well, you got to win this qualifier to get in. I was like, but we don't have a team. He said, well, I guess we're in. Let's just write that we won.
See, Darrell and I, the only thing I knew, the only way that I knew how to coach was the way I was coached in college. We put on a show.
We coached those kids like they were in college when they were 8, 9 years old, and they responded.
There was a game we won, and I believe the score was probably like 32-10. And the parent section, my mom and some of the other moms, said they had the funniest visual, because here was a team that just won 30-10, and you know, they're 8 years old. And my dad and Darrell, they were going after us. You gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta be better with this, you gotta be better with that. Like, they were hard on us. They pushed us. They saw big things in us and they pushed us for them.
And before you know it, we beat everybody. We beat Kentucky, we beat Indiana, we beat Maryland, we beat Memphis, and then we walked out of there with the national championship.
I don't know if it was Darrell or if it was Gil Johnson that called me. It was kind of this cool story. Here's, you know, that's something that doesn't happen very often. Pittsburgh teams doing well on the national stage. And then it was young kids who were the sons of former Pitt players. And so I remember writing a story about them. And you know, I didn't really interview the kids. I interviewed more their dads who were the coaches. But I remember, you know, kind of putting that in my mind is like, hey, keep an eye on these kids, because if they're doing this well at this age, they're going to be on the high school scene here in 5 or 6 years.
Let's see what you got, Puff. Alex and Dad.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Dad.
Gotta do your jump rope.
I know.
My dad, he always said, this is his quote, it was, to whom much is given, much is expected. And that was kind of what we lived by. So he said, you have been given a talent by God, and you have been given resources by us, by them, my parents. And so he is going to expect a lot.
To get in shape, to work on that explosion, we'd start down there and sprint up the hill and time them. We would time them. Then we would do steps, you know, stairs, you know, quick feet. So we did a lot of work here. You know, you kind of forget what all we did, but every day, they put in a lot of work.
I have 3 brothers, Aaron, Puff, and Braylon. The one thing about us is we are not age-spaced appropriately for competition. The older one always had the advantage, so we always had an interesting time mixing up teams. We'd have 3-on-3 games. It's not necessarily a court, it's just the driveway with the hoop. But the one thing you could always count on was Dad was gonna try to cheat somehow. He was gonna try to cheat somehow. He wasn't going out losing.
Those were really, really tough games, but we never played to a number. We never had like, we'll stop at 20. No, we played till I felt like my team was gonna win. And then sometimes I wasn't successful. And one, Puff.
We love to compete as a family. And there's no such thing as a calm, fun, relaxing game of anything. Everything that we do gets to like cutthroat competition, and you know, it's just how we are.
It's the cheat code. You know, the younger brother gets to play against the older brother. He always got the opportunity to play up. So he doesn't have to go to the gym. He can go in his backyard and compete.
I started playing up when I was really, really young. Rarely ever played with my age group. But there came a point where everybody else was maturing, going through puberty, developing, and I just remained this little pipsqueak, right? That really challenged me because, you know, I wasn't able to get in the lane and score quite as much. Definitely was not able to come away with as many rebounds as I probably would have liked to. So what did I do? I decided I'm gonna shoot a lot of threes. And so I started working on shooting.
Cam could shoot, and I'm talking about shoot the lights out. At the time, he always played up, but you can never get Cam out the way because he had a skill set that other kids didn't have.
It taught me how to overcome physical deficiencies in height and strength and speed and figure out how to contribute, no matter what team you're on, no matter what environment you're in. And in that, I kind of developed a mentality where I figured I could play with anybody.
Cam was making plays but wasn't strong enough to finish them. He was making the correct play but couldn't finish it at one point in high school. His grade, we had 4 or 5 definite Division I players, and then he wasn't considered one of those guys.
I knew I was a good player. I just took a little bit longer to mature. So 9th, 10th, 11th grade, it wasn't necessarily huge on my radar like recruitment. I'd get letters from small D1s. Not really any phone calls, but I'd get a lot of letters.
He was a 6'2", 6'3" point guard. And so, you know, we'd heard about him, but, you know, it was kind of like, oh, well, we'll see, you know, we'll see what this kid does, you know, as a sophomore, junior. And then all of a sudden, he was the talk of Western Pennsylvania because he had this growth spurt and grew like 6 inches.
And then 11th grade comes and I'm getting phone calls from like D3s and D2s and stuff. And they're calling me and I remember like, it was a feeling of an accomplishment because, okay, I'm being recognized, you know, it don't matter who it is. But I kind of just took that momentum and kind of continued to build on it. So by the middle of my junior year, I got my first Division I offer. And I remember at that point, you know, you're starting to feel pretty good. You're like, okay, like I can do this. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. Full steam ahead. So that's kind of how Pitt entered the fold.
From what I understand, Jamie Dixon had caught wind that other people were interested, and so I think Jamie was on his way on a recruiting trip and stopped on his way to the airport to see like an open gym.
And he says, I know you're hearing stories that we don't have a scholarship, but I'm prepared to offer him a scholarship. He said, but I want to see him. I want to see him live for myself. He said, I want to see him tomorrow. I said, Coach, tomorrow's Easter Sunday, right?
Gil calls me. Hey, Jamie Dixon's coming past that. Gil's like, basically, I want to show him, prove to him that my son is good enough.
So Easter Sunday, I got a bunch of my boys and a bunch of people that I knew to show up to our high school while the Pitt coaches watched.
And Coach Dixon is a basketball savant. And Jamie looked, and Jamie said, Gil, I see it. He kept shaking his head. He said, I see it.
Cam is the type of player and the type of person that's going to put more pressure on himself than anyone else. And I think he knew going to Pitt was going to be super difficult because of the expectation that was put on him. And because he was not, quote unquote, a top recruit, I think it was even more pressure.
Obviously, my dad played there, Darrell played there, and I had tons of ties to the program. So it felt familiar. But when I signed to Pitt, it was like, there was a vibe where there were a couple people out there that was like, oh, he'll be a good practice player for 4 or 5 years. He might be able to play come, 4 years from now, play a little bit.
Cam might be ready by his junior, senior year. A lot of doubts. Everybody thought that he was to help the team's GPA. Is he on academic scholarship?
I think the vibe was, I was not the caliber. I was a couple conferences levels down.
I think it was a little bit of a surprise. It was kind of like, wow, they're taking a flyer. Like, Cam was a late bloomer, and he was a guy who got late attention. And so I don't think people really knew his reputation. When Ben Howland came to Pitt, one of the things he did was realize if he wants to win in the Big East, he has to be able to beat Connecticut. So he started recruiting New York players, and they played hard and they played tough.
Pitt players for a very long time were just straight bunch of just dudes, tough. They were going to beat you up. It was going to be a physical game. They were going to put their hands on you, and you'd have to deal with that for 40 minutes. Those early Pitt days, it was very hard. It pushed me and made me work for it.
Coach Dixon was tough on all of our guys, especially when they first came in, because we wanted to establish our culture and exactly what it is that we were trying to put forth on the floor.
Man, I learned so much in terms of just competing and just how tough it could be. Because every day I sat in my locker before those practices just trying to pump myself up. You know, you can compete today, you can compete today. And that's just what I tried to do.
Pitt was loud, they were physical, and they were going to back up everything that they said they were going to do. Where Cam wasn't going to tell you what he was going to do, he was just going to do it.
Cameron Johnson having a huge first half. Cameron Johnson, a big three, what a day.
What I'm saying, he wasn't a Pitt type of player. Like, Cam could literally play anywhere in America, and he showed that.
It's 10 turnovers for the Orange, and Johnson puts it away.
Everybody wants to be able to say, I told you so, and he's an easy target. You know what I mean? Good kid, good family, good grades, clean cut. Nah, he's not gonna make it. No, not him. He's not gonna be able to compete with these other guys. If you're not paying attention, that's what you would think, because he's not screaming in your face. He's not gonna beat on his chest. But if you're paying attention, he's the same guy that's gonna step in there and take a charge. He's the same guy that's gonna go in there and compete for every rebound. Same guy that's gonna dive on the floor. You know, so they might say not tough enough, but he's gonna make every tough basketball player there is.
Cam embodied everything that we were trying to teach from a competitive standpoint. He was very smart. He was a cerebral player.
One thing I give the Pitt coaches so much credit for from day one is they never, ever took it easy on me. And they'd say, we're on your case because we believe in you. We think you can be an NBA player. It was really, really special to wear that Pitt uniform for a couple of years.
I do think that Pitt kind of shaped him into the young man he is, and the University of Pittsburgh, I think, is a big, pivotal part of his career.
As much as we've talked about, there's always been doubters. His faith in himself has never wavered. He was a guy who was always willing to work on his weaknesses and always willing to try to take his game to another level. And I think that his transferring to North Carolina was, recognition of that. There's another level I can take this game to.
I seen college. I knew what college was. I seen college. I had 3 years of it. I graduated. I wanted to play with the right team and the right environment, and I found that in North Carolina.
The competition in practice every day, the competition in the summer against NBA players, I think Cam quickly realized that he could play on the same level as anybody.
I think Pitt kind of got him that grit and grind that he has now, that he has to work, that he got to see at Carolina. Like, this is from the fruits of your labor. What he did at Pitt allowed Carolina to recruit him.
To lead up to the draft, teams have seen Cameron play for 4 years and 8 games. If they don't know who he is by now, they're not gonna, this is who he is. And I said, buddy, don't be surprised if you're a lottery pick. Because he didn't think so, because he wasn't called up to be in the room.
So Gil's like, Dad, you coming out to the house? I'm like, yeah, but I work kids out. And I said, I'm gonna be at the gym until 9 o'clock. What if he get drafted before that? I said, if he get drafted before that, that's gonna be the best day of your life.
A week before the draft, I wrote a couple stories, and then they just kind of said, oh yeah, you should come out on draft night. They have big open living room, and everybody was crowded around the television. You could kind of feel the nervous energy, like as the first round was going on. We didn't know he was going to be a lottery pick, for one. There was a lot of talk that he was going to be a first rounder, but I believe it was kind of like 20 to 31 was the projection. And then they said, hey, everybody be quiet. Let's hear the announcement on TV.
With the 11th pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Cameron Johnson from the University of North Carolina.
I never made it there. That was the best thing that could ever happen, me not making it.
Cameron Johnson just went 11th. How do you react to that news?
He went what?
11th.
Cam
in
Johnson
the draft.
11th.
Yep.
Wow, bro.
I just knew like his longevity and his skill set, it's rare. Anybody who gets paid 6 and 7 figures to evaluate talent is gonna see that talent. So you put all of those things together, and not only do you keep your job when you pick this kid, you get a promotion.
It feels like a premonition is coming true. And I was so happy for him that he was rewarded, even though he was looked at as an older player when he was drafted.
Y'all know Cam, you don't know how hard Cam worked. And it's a lot of people that doubt him, but wow, bro, that's crazy, bro.
Just to see Cam, like the kind of underdog story that he was, and to see how humble and how gracious he was in that moment. There was no, I told you I was going to do this. There was no, I prove you wrong. It was more just a matter of like, okay, this is what we worked so hard for, and all the hard work has paid off.
It was real cool to do it surrounded by family in the same living room that I've watched 15 draft nights before. In that moment, you truly realize that so many people have looked out for me along the way, have elevated my game on the court, off the court, whatever it may be, just made me a better person. So it's just like you're overwhelmed with gratitude. I'm just thankful that you could be blessed enough to be in that position. But yeah, it was a really cool night.
When they brought in Monty and when Cam got drafted, the year before they had 19 wins. They ended up going up to 38 and they went undefeated in the bubble, and I knew they had something special then. I think they had the best record in the league over those 3 years. But it was because it was a college type atmosphere. They actually had each other's back. They cared about each other.
When he got drafted, we literally did everything together, and it's crazy because we work out together, we're on the court together, we'll lift, we do all these things. So like, if you just look out on the court or something, if I'm on the court, he's on the court, and we're going through the same drills, we're doing all the same workouts.
I think the base of it is understanding how much of a privilege it is to be in the NBA. And then secondary to that is understanding what all goes into it. There's a community that cares about you and that watches what you do, and it's our job to perform on the court and to kind of make that city home in a way.
In a blockbuster trade with the Nets, the Phoenix Suns are acquiring Kevin Durant. Phoenix sending Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and 4 first-round picks to Brooklyn.
We're all in to being, a part of this organization and a part of this city, and take the same things that, we're known for around Phoenix and bring them here. Bringing a level of joy to the game and elevating the culture that they obviously have had here for a long time.
I never want to limit any of our players. You see them from afar and you think, golly, it's a heck of a player. Is he really that good? And then you get guys like Cam and Mikal, and you go, they're actually better. They're better than we thought.
Cam's been a late bloomer probably his whole life. He was a late bloomer in high school. He goes to Pitt, he's a late bloomer at Pitt. He ends up getting drafted high, and he comes into a role in Phoenix where he doesn't have to show that he could do all these things right away.
Once he got traded to Brooklyn, it was going to be an opportunity to see him play.
Johnson bottoms a three.
And Cam Johnson has been lights out.
You just know if he's open and he has that ball, just put your hands up, put the three symbol up, because it's going in. And this development with the ball, putting it on the floor, is going to surprise you.
You can see he's multidimensional. He's a player, not a position or a specialist.
He didn't accept saying, this is all I am, I'm a shooter. He kept saying, you know what, I know I can do a little bit more. I got to keep working on my skills. I got to keep adding one little thing.
Cam is going to embrace taking on, some new roles and some new challenges. I love that he's adding more pieces to his game. I love seeing him, dunk on people and have the finishes at the rim that he does. I love to see him play with some swagger, talk a little bit of trash here and there.
Every level that I've been on, I've improved over time. High school, college, and even so far in the NBA, all those aspects have improved.
Over the shoulder to Claxton. A two-hand slam for Nick Claxton.
There's a lot of doubters, and there's still a lot of doubters. And I'll tell you, I think I know why. Because he doesn't beat his chest, he doesn't say, look at me, but in the inside, he has a fire.
I still have steps to go. I still have a lot of steps to go, and I feel like I'm chipping away at it every day. Just being a really well-rounded, solid player.
Cam Johnson! Major Cam slam. Johnson stops and hits.
Every day is a wonderful opportunity to continue to get better and put my best foot forward and play hard and make the city proud.
Cam Johnson has re-signed with the Nets and has agreed to be part of what Brooklyn is going to do going forward.
It's a blessing to be in a situation with a team that cares about me, cares about my teammates, and cares about building something important.
We wanted to make sure we keep Cam and trying to recruit him the whole time he was here and show him this is what Brooklyn's all about.
Bro, I'm so happy for you, beyond happy for you.
It's a strange feeling when you accept the contract, sign the contract.
Yeah.
It's like everything you work for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, getting drafted, getting your first contract, crazy feeling. Mm-hmm. Getting that second one is like everybody understands that getting to that second contract is a huge part of the NBA. Mm-hmm. But it was a strange feeling because it was like, okay, this is great. Like, I'm not gonna change the way I live.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go buy something crazy. I'm not gonna start acting different. Like that's, and so I had to really think about it for a little bit. Like it's a huge blessing, bro.
If you asked them, like, look, Cam, you had the opportunity to be the greatest player that ever played basketball, but you can never give a dime or any time to the community, he would definitely turn it down.
He's such a good person. When he goes back to his roots and do the stuff that he likes, he can fit in anywhere.
This morning, remember, it's all making a difference.
All the little things that sometimes when you make it big, some of those guys don't do it. He does it.
He's always giving himself, always, always, always. Sometimes I have to pull him away.
No, I did a few bike rides. I did a couple 1-milers.
The same way he doesn't believe the naysayers is the same way he just won't get caught up in the hype. Like, Cam is just a normal person. He's going to speak to you. He's going to engage with you. When you ask him a question, he's going to answer the question. When he asks you a question, he's waiting for an answer.
When I'm at home, I try to make myself available. I try to take pictures and talk to people because I want people to understand, kids to understand that growing up in Pittsburgh, you can accomplish anything, you can go anywhere, you can be anything, you can, do anything you set your mind to.
I'm seeing more ownership. And now that he has a new start, now this is on my shoulders. This is what I wanted.
This route to the NBA, it's just something that I'm never going to take for granted. And I think that shows itself.
It's in his heart to give back and to be a part of Pittsburgh. We know that the city loves him and he loves the city. And I just think Cam is such a well-rounded and grounded young man that the sky's the limit for what he can add to Pittsburgh off the floor.
Moon Township and Old. I'm Cam, nice to meet you, man. Of course. Enjoy the game.
He has Pittsburgh pride. It was really gratifying to show, hey, a local kid came back and I'm an NBA, and you know what? You can make it. Or you can make it. It might not be the NBA, but it could be getting your MBA, whatever your calling is.
He loves and he represents his city more than any kid that I know.
I think it is on me to help whoever's coming up next, because maybe not everybody has the parents and the opportunities that I had. And sometimes all these kids need is opportunity.
What's up, Len?
If there is a legacy to be had, I want it to be giving other kids a chance, giving other kids an opportunity and just helping to grow.